I do realize this is airing, so I just want to say, Brent, I love you. and I'm saying I can tell you anything. I'm just choosing not to burn you with this stupid shit.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a special edition of the Fit4Lyfe Lifestyle Podcast. I am Anthony Changes, and to celebrate Pride Month, I am joined by the supporting cast of the Pirates of the Caribbean 6, the Sty of the Storm. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Captain Jason Sparrow Tachi.
All right. Can you take this off now? Thank you.
Captain Kevin Morgan Updegrove.
Kevin Morgan.
Captain Larry Blackbeard Popritkin. And Captain Hooker Derek D. Rod Rodriguez. What's going on, fellas?
All right.
Nothing
What's
much.
up? Good evening.
Just
Good
me and
evening.
my style tonight.
That's it, right. Your main man.
Keep your style on that side.
I will.
At least you got that black shirt on. I'm not going to worry about them pits this time.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I came prepared. 3 t-shirts under my arms.
Oh, shit.
There's a bucket over
He's
here on
got
the bench,
2
too.
maxi pads with wings on
Yeah,
underneath.
no doubt.
Don't
Super
give out his
absorbent.
secrets, bro.
I mean, who do you think gave him the idea? Right on. Welcome, folks. I'm glad to have you guys in. As you guys know, tonight's actual episode is about men's mental health, because June is Men's Health Awareness Month. And actually, I think Tuesday was Men's Mental Health Day. So, speaking of, yeah, right? And
Typical guys, we just found out about it already happened.
I thought we were talking about marathons.
right. That's how we got you here. Like. So to start off with, I think we can all talk about the pandemic, because that, I think, equally affected everyone. I mean, it was not an event that picked and chose who it wanted to affect. So, Jason, since you are to my left, let's go ahead and start with you. How did the pandemic affect you, either personally, professionally, or mentally?
I don't think really mentally any aspects other than just the stress of the business of what we had to deal with. You know, that's where the biggest impact came for myself and with Sandy was we had just opened where we're sitting right now, 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks, and then we had to close it.
Right.
And, now we're carrying 2 locations with no additional income coming in, and landlords still want money. Where's my money? You know?
Right.
It's like that.
What
big
pandemic?
fellas? Fuck you, pay me. That's the way it still was. It didn't matter.
It's like Debo and Friday.
It was really hard. It was very stressful because of that. Exactly. Very stressful, and really just set us back from our goals and where we made it to, big time.
And did it have any effect, like personally, as far as like your relationship with Sandy, or diet, boredom, stress, anything like that?
I think more stress, obviously, because we're dealing with this financial aspect and leaning on friends for help and guidance and things of that nature. Larry put us in touch with some people to help and everything, and he was a great help with some of the issues we were dealing with the landlord. But so I think more stressful. I don't know. I don't think the relationship had, we're married. We always have things going on, good, bad, ugly. Always there's things happening. So I don't think there's any additional stress or effect for us other than the business aspect and the financial aspect that puts a stress on, most marriages.
Right on. Larry, what about you? How did the pandemic kick off affect you?
No, I mean, I don't think it had an effect as far as mentally, which I guess is what we're here for today. I mean, obviously, being home, stuck at home, and the kids and the wife, it gets tight, right? But it's not like it was something that was just happening to you. It was happening to everybody.
Right.
So that makes a big difference, right? You can't really... To me, it's like my wife started with that at the beginning, and it's like, listen, it's not just us. So everyone's going through it. So, I mean, it was stressful. Kids are a handful, when they're not in school, and they can be a little bit of high maintenance. They require a lot of attention when they're not in school, but not much of a stress in that sense. The business didn't suffer. It suffered later, but at the time it was fine. So no real stress.
So it kind of helped you keep things in perspective, like knowing like this is something for everyone. This isn't something specific to me.
For me, that was very helpful.
Right on.
If it was something that's happening to me or a close group of people that I knew, it would have been a lot different, obviously. But
it's hard to play the woe is me card and why me when it's everybody.
Right.
It doesn't mean it wasn't played, obviously.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
I agree.
Always play a good hand. I mean,
So let's shift over to you, Kevin. How did the pandemic affect you?
So right up till about December, didn't even notice because I was going to work every day. I was real fortunate that they didn't
People
have
wore
us.
masks though. Did you realize that?
I was fine, man.
Everybody else was struggling.
Why is everybody wearing a mask?
What the hell's going on? But long about I guess mid-December, they finally pulled the plug and sent us home. And I got to tell you, I went into a tailspin after that because I was bored shitless.
I bet.
And I got a bad habit of eating when I'm bored.
Yeah.
So that was my big challenge.
Not me. I don't have a
Well,
problem
mine
with
is-
food. I don't have a problem with food at all.
So that was probably the biggest impact on me. You know, I probably put on the 10 or 15 pounds that I was trying to take off.
Right.
So I'm still trying to work that off. But you know, other than that, I mean, financially, it wasn't really a stressor. It was more just flat out boredom and trying to figure out what the hell to do with myself during the day.
Yeah. I mean, did you and Wendy have to stay home?
No, Wendy actually never stayed home. She worked right on through. Yeah,
We'll look into that about me.
That's a good point. You know, I haven't thought about that.
I don't know, man.
Where were you all that time?
What about you, D? How did the pandemic affect you?
You know, funny enough, I started a vacation right when everything started getting shut down. So I really didn't get the effect of the pandemic to a few weeks after when I had to go back to work. And the wife was working from home, the kids weren't in school, and I had to go back to work. And in my profession, I deal with people every day, close encounters.
Yeah.
And we had to change that a little, you know, because we took a step back on the normal activities that we did in the unit that I worked in, and we weren't as hands-on as we used to be with our cases because, you know, we didn't know who we were encountering.
Right. We don't know who got what.
Yeah, we didn't know who that was. And, and then, the scare was big, right? At the beginning, wearing masks and gloves, and they're issuing us all these, like, biohazard
World's
things.
deadliest virus, buddy. Come on.
And, then it started to get like, am I going to get this thing? Am I going to bring this home to my family? Because I don't have the luxury of working from home.
Right.
Survivor.
But
Yeah.
we managed.
Raise
you know
your
what I
hand if
mean?
you're a COVID survivor.
Yeah, I'm a COVID survivor, allegedly. But I didn't get. The funny thing is, I didn't get COVID until almost a year after. You know,
That you know of.
Not even from work. No, honestly, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I probably did, but
There goes that work claim.
Yeah. But
He can edit
I
that
know
shit out.
for the overall, the house, we grew tighter together.
Nice.
I was off for like 3 weeks before I went back to work because I was on vacation, and we did things in the
always on
house.
vacation.
It was dope, man. You know what I mean? The things we didn't do before. We didn't go on vacation, so we kind of, I saw people doing
The
camping.
difference about Derek is like we do vacation like once a year. Derek like works once a year. So that's the difference when Derek's talking about
Must be
vacation.
nice.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, like I didn't get to go to Disney. That was a struggle. That was a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the pandemic didn't really affect me much either because, like many of you, I still got to go to work. So my day-to-day routine didn't really change. I had already stopped bartending years before, and thankfully, because they all got shit on when everything closed.
yeah.
I mean, they weren't making money. So granted, I took a big pay hit to go to the job that I'm at now. I'm not even going to highlight them. But
Technically, you didn't take a hit because you got a job. You wouldn't have had a job
Right.
if you were staying where you were.
Oh, you was
Exactly.
going to work with Wendy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The stressors usually come from people you're close with. So when my kids were home, my wife had to basically homeschool my eldest, who has autism, and everybody handles things differently. She stresses, and so that stress transfers to you because
Sure, yeah.
Right.
she's basically spending all day telling me about how hard it is, and it is. I had to cover for her and sit there and make sure that he's doing whatever the teacher wants him to do in the computer screen, whatever. So, but that's usually how stress works, right? Somebody stressing you out, maybe
Yeah.
not COVID, but somebody who's not handling it.
Right.
Yeah,
How other
a lot of
people handle
times.
things, definitely. I mean, because like that affects the way you communicate things. I mean, so like
Sure.
you can absorb stress, and then I'm gonna blow up at you because
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is
yeah,
something that's
I
affecting
very
me.
much feed off of that energy.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so now we can't talk about men's mental health without talking about men in general. So like, let's go the opposite direction. Derek, what would you say makes it?
alcohol.
Right, that's you.
Let's look at Derek.
I pretty much emptied my entire
as I
wine
sip
fridge.
my water.
My entire wine fridge went from 200 bottles
Right, to
one.
6.
That's COVID.
All right. So Derek, to you, what makes a man a man? Like, what is your definition of being man? A man.
A provider, a protector, someone that puts that weight on their shoulders and carries on. You know what I mean? Doesn't shouldn't panic at the moments that it's time to panic. Should just hold it together, keep the family, safe and just manageable, and keep it going.
All right. Kevin?
Well, first you got to be able to fix things and curse a lot, but
Or do one more.
I am a man's man. No, I pretty much was raised the same way D was. I think to be a man is to be the provider, to take care of your family, to protect your family. To be there when things kind of fall out, to be the rock for people to lean on. That's kind of how I was brought up. So.
And how were you taught to like express emotions and whatnot? Like
I wasn't.
You weren't.
Nope.
So
my dad was very, very unemotional. Right. So he was a good father, but he was definitely not an emotional father. So
yeah, same.
Yeah. And what about you? Because the last episode we discussed how you didn't grow up with your father. You grew up with your uncle. So were your uncles a little bit harder on you?
Nah, man, my uncles are cool. I don't know. Like I didn't have anybody to teach me. I did more observing. You know what I mean? I had a lot of men in the family that did just that, provided, protected.
Right.
And I looked up to those guys.
So you didn't get a chance to get yelled at for holding the flashlight the wrong way.
He didn't get yelled at. He just got hit. It went straight to hitting. No yelling.
Yeah, the chancleta went flying across the living room, no doubt.
Facts.
I got yelled at for not mopping the floor correctly. You know what I mean? Things like that. That's what I learned.
I still yell for that.
Right. Domesticated. Oh, I know. I've heard. Like, domesticated as fuck. What about you, Larry? Like, what were you taught a man is?
Growing up, youngest of three brothers, of three boys. I guess I have to say it's probably the same for all of us because of the generation, right? I mean, I don't know
there's a lot of that.
my father ever took the time to tell me stuff like it's okay to cry or whatever. Although if I cried, I don't think he ever, as far as I remember, ever made me feel bad about it. But I think the definition of being a man really depends on the timing, right? When you ask somebody, what do you think being a man means? It depends on what you're doing at that point, right? We're all, we all have kids, as and we're married or whatever. So yeah, obviously it's what Derek said is providing for your family. But I think it also has to do with, for me at least, it has to do with trying to get involved in the community, and I used to do that a lot more through my old college fraternity in trying to be a mentor to some people. I used to mentor some of these law students at the time. I just don't have time anymore, and a lot of these kids, it's a different generation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So trying to teach them, which is not easy, but trying to inflict on them how important it is to be a man the way we define being a man, right? Like and in my profession as a lawyer is, they lie so much, it's everything you hear about lawyers is true for the most part. It is, like there's very little honor anymore. There's very little, it's just all about the money and stuff. And so to me, being a man is, it's trying to inflict on some young college student about what it's going to be like. You can't just, it's not a switch. You can't not be a man when you're young and then all of a sudden just decide that all of a sudden and I think marriage and kids will push you towards that, but I think it's important to act manly, to act with honor, to have for your word to mean something, and I think on this table that's true for all of us.
And how would you say, like, culturally speaking, it's different from you're from Argentina, correct?
I grew up there. I was raised there till age 15. I mean, it's the same as any Latin culture, I would imagine. It's just there is obviously the machismo of a male figure in the Hispanic world. Italian world is probably the same way. Right. I think the only unmanly person here is probably Kevin because he's American. And
yeah, what world is that?
Listen, we were Vikings, damn it.
Got us beat. It all makes sense. He's got us beat.
Not real. Yeah. Again, I think it's cultural, right? And not cultural by because I'm Hispanic or not, but just I think it's much more acceptable now to be more in tune with your emotions than it was when we were younger, I feel.
Big.
I think you make a good point, though. It also depends on the season of your life. I mean, if you'd asked me what it means to be a man, 20, 30 years ago, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you have any brothers?
No, I have two sisters.
You got two sisters. So you got one brother, and then you have a couple brothers from your dad.
Right, so I have, my dad had 4 kids. He had my oldest sister, my oldest brother, and then my mom just had me and my brother.
Right on.
So a half brother, half sister.
And Jason, do you have any brothers?
No, I have a sister, younger.
Right on. And so what was your definition of a man or growing up?
So very similar to, Kevin and Derek, the man is that masculine figure, the muscle guy, the guy that's fixing the car, that's repairing the drywall, that's out working hard, coming home and, dinner's ready and he's bringing home the paycheck and providing for the family, and not that my father wasn't like interactive with me, but similar to Kevin, my dad was a great father, great provider. I remember, lots of great moments with my dad, but I also growing up, I remember my dad crying once.
Right.
A good friend of his died and my dad cried. And, that things like that I think helped, molded me to the way that I am. I could tell you the 2 times, I've cried that I can remember.
Right.
That's it. 2 deaths in the family. Other than that, I'm not like Derek, which is okay. Derek's more emotional.
Right.
And, we
Cry.
Let's not pass judgment now.
Derek will get teary-eyed and because
Commercials.
it's emotional. Commercials, yeah. Fucking can't watch a Disney movie with this guy.
No, damn. I still haven't gotten over Bambi.
But I admire that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like that. And it's hard, and that impacts me and my relationships in life. Because I don't express my emotions enough. I don't, and I'm sure it's real hard on Sandy because, just don't open up.
Right.
It's just how, as a guy growing up, you talk about this shit. You got a problem, you deal with it.
Right.
You fix it. You're the guy. Figure out the problem. Fix it. So I have 2 young boys. So, much like Larry was talking to, I make sure I let them know it's okay. One of them's crying. It's okay to cry. What's the matter?
Right.
Work it out. It's okay to show your emotions. It's okay to express. Make sure, hug them, love them, kiss them, so they know that doesn't feel unnatural or weird. So it's very important for me, not that I'm breaking a cycle, because I don't, but I think, to Kevin's point, it's a generational thing. Back in when I was born in the 70s, growing up in the 80s, you're a dude, man. You're like the guy.
Right.
You're fucking crying? What are you, pussy?
Right.
That's the kind of stuff you got growing up. And it's just the way the times were. Times are definitely different.
And who would you say is like the archetype of a man in your life? I mean, it could be your father, it could be an uncle, pastor, whatever. I mean, like who best fits that description to you?
My dad. I mean, my dad did a great job for us. I mean, we, came from. I was just telling Derek the other day. I mean, when we moved down here, when I was born here, my parents moved from Massachusetts. We were living in Honey Hill over there by the stadium and trailer parks when we first came down here.
Right.
So my dad, busted his ass, man, took us from those trailer parks, provided for us, got us into a nice house in Hollywood, then moved us out to almost Weston before Weston was Weston. We're on an acre of land like what you got now, big beautiful house. My dad provided. He made sure we were safe. We made sure we had food, clothes, whatever we needed. To me, as growing up, that's the definition of a man. And my dad did everything. Not that he did everything right, but he did things right. I mean, he's just hit retirement age. They're retired. They're done. Hung it up. They're out, enjoying their life as they should at that age. So, that's where, I'm molded from. But I've tried to break that mold a little and better it as I've gotten older. And definitely want to instill different on my boys, for sure.
Kevin, what about you? Like, who would you say best represents like the man archetype?
Actually, I'd have to say it was my granddad. My dad during the early 70s and the 60s was kind of more about himself than he was the family, and I think the difference there is my grandfather. When my parents got divorced when I was 7, my grandfather paid off my mom's house. They used to send her clothes. They'd send money to us just because he valued family and he felt responsible for not only for his grandkids, for me and my sisters, but for my dad's ex-wife, my mom, as well. He felt responsible for her, and I think that responsibility. He was also just the consummate gentleman. I mean, he was the most polite, wonderful guy you'll ever meet. Always upbeat. So, I really look up to my granddad. Wish there were more people like him.
And how many times would you say like you've seen him cry or like express his emotions or do anything that kind of goes against like what you have known to be?
I don't recall specifically, but I know I've seen him a couple of times show more emotion than my dad did. He definitely was a little bit more in touch that way. Still not a lot. I mean, this was, he grew up back in the 30s, I guess.
So was the emotion more so you think when he was in your older grandpa or your younger grandpa?
Yeah, that's
I can remember my younger grandfather when I was little, and he was still
yes,
fried guy, and My grandfather was, awesome, did everything, gentleman. I don't think I ever heard him curse until he got older. He got a little looser.
That's a good point.
But as he got older,
yeah,
in his 70s, late 60s, 70s, 80s, I can remember he would get more emotional at family events and things of that nature. But my younger grandfather, I don't remember.
That's a good point.
I don't know that it was taboo. I don't know that the older generation didn't show emotion for. I feel like today with the social media and the exposure and the idea that that we know what's going on with every kid, right? You can pick up anybody's social media and you know exactly what's going on with them. So I think it's just more parents being more in tune with what their children are going through, and then trying to, like what Jason was saying, and showing, hey, listen, it's okay, and so forth, right? Where back then we just went to play. I mean,
I
just go
all day. You got no fight.
Just shop to dinner. And it wasn't that they didn't care.
Right.
It's a different world, safer world.
And there wasn't instant contact like there is now. It's like you could shoot a text and be like,
I don't even know how to answer your question if you ask me that. I can't even think of a person. I mean, my dad was a good dad, but I don't know that he taught me how to be a man. I mean, to me now it's almost like, it's all about fatherhood now, right? We have kids.
I think, not to cut you off, but I think you got taught, whether you got taught, like, here's the book, How to Be a Man, but you get taught by watching.
Right.
Whether you're watching what to do or what not to do, you're being taught by your role models.
I think, you don't know them, but I think I know people, I know guys who have overcome so much, right? As dads, tragedy or certain incredible economic windfalls that they've had to overcome, and to me those are the people that I would look to and say, wow, look what that guy did for his family. I always told I don't want to embarrass him, but I've always been incredibly impressed by the way Jason is with his children, and to me that's how I define being a man now, because I'm a dad, right? So I see how Jason he walks that line where these kids, he shows them love, like you said, he hugs them, he kisses them, but there is that look that he gives them.
Oh, I got that look, boy.
And it's incredible. Like he has those kids. I don't know if it's because he's military and he's just got, maybe his dad taught him that, but just the way that he is as a dad, maybe that's how his dad was with him.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all it ever took was a look.
I mean, listen, man, I could be at a family function getting stupid over in the corner of my cousins. I can just feel the back of my head burning, and I look, and I would go, fuck. Because I knew, man, when we got in that car, I got choices as to what happened when we got home. And it was like door 1, 2, or 3, and none of them were good to walk through. But again, different time. I would get smacked. I'd get hit with a paddle. But back then it was commonplace.
Preventative smack.
My dad would give me a choice. Belt.
Just in case.
You could be grounded. Yeah, I got the belt.
Oh, we got the wooden spoons.
My dad was a carpenter.
My mother never hit me.
He made a fucking paddle with holes drilled in it. It broke the wind. It had better aerodynamics. I get a choice: 2 weeks of grounded or paddle. I'm like, hit me. I'll be outside playing in a couple minutes. But yeah, different time. But thank you very much for this. I really appreciate it. It means a lot because my kids are the most important thing. It's my legacy. That's
absolutely
how those kids, project themselves and are looked upon by the community and you guys and everything means a lot, because that's a reflection of me. Whenever I ever got a compliment like, wow, man, you really got your shit together, or that was you're good at what you do, or you're a nice young man, whatever. I'm not like, yeah, awesome. I think of my dad, because he's the one that kicked my ass. He's the one that took away whatever to put me on the path that I needed to be on, and things of that nature. So again, back to the man thing. That's the man that kind of molded me to the man that I am and want to be,
strive to be,
because I know what I do and don't want from the past, if that makes sense.
Talking about teaching, though, one of the things you can definitely say your dad, I would guess, mine, teaches you right from wrong. I mean, that's a crystal clear lesson, right? This is wrong, smack. This is okay.
Not like today. There's right and there's wrong. There's no gray area. Right? And today, everything's about gray. So
well, that's absolutely the truth too. Yeah.
Derek, what about you? Who would you say is the archetype?
Yeah, that's a. Since you said Jason, I'll say Larry. That one's hard, right? Because I was raised by my mom, right? And she had help. It takes a village to raise an idiot, right? Idiot!
You have a strong village, bro.
Please start listening to this. At least just that part.
Your mom's gonna call back and take back everything she said about you later.
No, put that on a loop and just.
I learned a lot from everybody. Everybody had a helping hand for me and my brother, and he'll say the same thing. My grandfather, though, I have this image of my grandfather, and I lived a big portion of my life with my grandfather around. He was Don Corleone, the godfather of the family. Like, no doubt. Anybody you meet in my family will tell you. He was the guy they came to, the older people in the neighborhood, kissed the pinky ring to. That was the man for me growing up.
Right.
We went to a restaurant, the whole family, he paid for everybody, you know. So he was that man figure that all of us, I think we all grew up wanting to be like my grandfather, because, you know, he was like throwing it down, paying for everybody, the women
Everybody
got
loved him.
spoiled,
It's like the movie
he
character.
feed the whole neighborhood, you know, and that's how we grew up, you know, seeing what a man was, especially for my brother and I.
So what the hell? How come you don't pay
And-
when we go out?
Shit.
Yeah, so I have his money. And as we got older, you know, we started, you know, and he passed away and everything. And my brother and I, we bring that too. You know, we're the type, you know, I don't let my wife pay, or I try to, you know, do what I can with what I have and try to resonate to, like, you know, like him. You know what I mean? Like, he was a godfather. He was the man. Everybody in my family will tell you, you know, the whole neighborhood loved him, and that's who we looked at. I'm cheesy with the family, guys. I'm cheesy with the family.
No,
I
I love it, bro.
Yeah. And everybody's met my family more than once because of the epic parties.
That's why you're saying he feeds the neighborhood. I'm like, yo, you feed everybody.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
He
He used to have a business. He used to have a business. He used to have this social club that all the factory workers and teachers used to go to after work. He would have barbecues. You know, I mean, he would feed everybody. You know, and that was like, he's the man. Like, I want to be like that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was.
That's why he always brings a grocery store whenever he comes to a party.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Emulate what you see.
Derek, what would you say, or why, in your interpretation, why do you think it's so difficult for men to share their emotions? And I'm going to start with you because it's already been pre-established that, like, you're the emotional one. You know what I mean?
Again, it's a generational thing, right? You like, men are supposed to be like, hold it together. You know, you keep your business
Man
to
up.
yourself, man up, you know,
Grow up,
cowboy up.
Don't be a pussy, like all that.
And I think for our generation, we find it difficult. Some people not as much as others. I think if you ask this generation that's growing up now in 20 years, they'll say, they'll tell you, well, put it on Instagram. Everybody knows my feelings. It's just the generation we grew up in. It's just what it was. If it was right, it was right. It was wrong. I don't know the answer to that, but that's what it was back then, and that's why we don't complain and we don't express ourselves to our buddies, because not that they will, because I've talked to these guys, you know, and they don't clown. We clown each other, but we don't clown about our concerns.
Right.
But it's just always there, right? Because that's what how you were raised, thinking like, you keep your business to yourself. You don't tell them that, you know.
Right,
because
anything
they'll make
that
fun of you
can-
the whole fucking time. You know what I mean?
Well, we got eye patches to be in solidarity with you. You know what I mean? Because I'm from that generation.
Yeah.
No, but like, so when it comes to perceived weaknesses, obviously you don't want to share those. You don't want to be open and honest about that, because, you know, that could be used against you in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, but then like you end up internalizing shit like that. I mean, I'll get a little bit deeper into my own experience with internalizing shit, because I think it's important to this conversation. But let's move on to Kevin real quick. Kevin, what do you think? Why do you think it's difficult for men, and specifically to open up?
Well, I think it's a combination. It's definitely a societal thing, right? So depending on how society is moving at the time, like, it's a lot different now than it was then. But I think also you make a good point in terms of weakness, right? As growing up and being the provider and being the rock and being the guy that everybody comes to, I think men are afraid to show any type of weakness. And I think that, you know, they don't want to detract from, hey, I'm the guy, I'm the one in charge, I'm the one that takes care of things. So, you know, to show that emotion, I guess, you know, realize the fact that there's some weaknesses underneath, and men just don't want to share those things.
Yeah.
Larry?
I disagree. I'm going to disagree with that. I think I don't think it's that difficult to open up. If there's something significant, if you have the right people around you, like, I'm super close with Derek and Jason and Kevin. If I had something that required, you know, like some significant work, right? Like, you know, like somebody
Counseling,
to advise and
guidance,
I have no problem opening up. You know, I do well with the daily grind. Like, my wife opens up about everything. I mean, she'll send me a text like every 3 minutes. I went to Starbucks. Oh, they didn't have my coffee, and she's stressing. Oh, you know, my milk is closed. Oh, and can you imagine if I did that too? You know, so I pick and choose. Like I just don't stress about little things, right? But I don't. I mean, maybe I'm lucky. I mean, I've had some things in the past. You know, you guys, well, the group knows, but the listeners don't probably. I have both of my children have problems. They have an intellectual disability, so they're pretty much fully disabled. They'll never go to college, marriage, whatever. So that is the biggest stressor in my life economically. Ridiculous amount of money into therapies and so forth, and also in the marriage. And you know, my little one is now experiencing seizures, because why not? So those are stresses, right? But the difference there is that we're living them together, right? My wife and I. So there's no, it's not a me thing, it's an us thing. So those are much easier to handle, right? When you have a stress personally, I don't know if I was raised that way or whatever. I'm not gonna share with a wife. I feel like she has her own issues that to deal with, whether through my children or her individual. So I'm always gonna go to my buddies. I'm never going, because it's just like opening up and just creating an unnecessary
putting more stress.
Because you know, she's not gonna worry, right? She's gonna be like, oh, this guy, you know, there's stuff going on right now with me, my business, and these guys know very well what's going on. But I don't find the need to share that with my significant other, who's going to stress over it. My buddies are going to stress too, but listen.
Well, you got about a week because this podcast comes out.
All that's about to change.
It really is amazing how Larry does handle everything that he's got going on. Right?
Yeah, no question.
Agree. Hearing it and seeing it and actually knowing why. I mean, for him to just sit here right now doing this, it's like. Yeah. You know,
so I'm glad that you brought up the fact that, you know, like you choose not to share certain things with your wife, because I would think that when you choose someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and you become one and you have a family, that would be your go-to to like help me problem solve. You know what I mean? I could be wrong. I'm single as fuck though. So I mean, like, don't. No, you're not wrong.
So there's a couple of things there. Number one is who you marry, the personality of that person. Can they handle it?
Right. Okay.
Right. My wife, in my opinion, and she'll listen to this, I don't think she can. And it's not that she can't. It's that I choose not to bring that
to her
because there's no need. Right. There's nothing going on in my life that I can't just get some advice for certain people. And you know, she has enough with our kids. She does most of that. So I think if you marry the type of person that maybe it's more analytical, my wife is very, very emotional. She's a very emotional person. If I ever argue with her, she's crying within 3 seconds. So the argument's over, right? So like you were saying, what does it mean to be a man / husband? That. Why am I gonna bring that? I know something that she has no way of helping me. None. All she can do is listen. Well, I might as well bring it to my buddies.
Right.
And you know, because there's just no need. And that's just the way I look at it.
What were you gonna say?
It's odd because I'm actually just the opposite, and probably shouldn't be. But I kind of tend to, on the outside, keep things to myself, and yet when I go home, you know, with Wendy, I'll sit and you know I'll talk with her, and I see sometimes that doesn't work out real well. So. Yeah, it can be really stressful on a spouse when you do those things, but that's just how I'm built. You know, I tend to, on the outside, I try to keep everything at an even keel.
Hold on. Then, Jason, what do you think why is it difficult for men to open up?
I revert back to kind of what we saw and how we were raised. You know, the men in my family didn't, open up. Yeah, my dad told me he loved me, and I got hugs and stuff, and we saw him cry once. But so it's hard for me to, what I grew up seeing and watching and how we interacted with my mom. They're very lovey and stuff, but still watching all that is how my mind is molded. Okay, this is a relationship, and this is how the relationship is supposed to be.
Right.
And vulnerability, and man being a man. Like we talked about weaknesses. Open up and tell them this fear or this happened or I'm scared about this. Oh, I thought you had all your shit together. If you're scared, the fuck am I supposed to do? Right, what? If you're worried about that, this is freaking me out, stressing you out.
Form of protection, right?
Holy
You're protecting your wife, your
I'm
spouse.
gonna freak out, and that's it. A lot of Larry brought up a great point, and he's absolutely right. A lot of the things. You don't want to burden your significant other. I don't need to put more shit on
especially when
Sandy's
you know
plate.
that it's just to listen, that they're really not going to be able to do much about it, and why. That's just the way
I think that kind of that might come across a little dismissive as well. Like if you feel like I don't think you're capable of handling or helping me with what my issue is. I mean, I don't know
now.
specific.
I don't think that's not.
Dismissing her.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like,
that's it.
I also don't know what the issue you're speaking
Yeah, I
directly
mean,
about.
they can support you. They can be like, listen, you're gonna do well, and she does that. She knows. My wife knows what but it's just there's no burden in the details, because at the end of the day, let's say it's my work. It's my work. There's nothing that she's gonna be able to do. So that's just the way I am.
And it's not that dismissing them. It's just not putting more on the plate, or if it's something that this will pass, or this is an issue now but will be resolved. That's that whole internalizing and figuring out and solving the problem and dealing with it. So there's major shit going on. 100%. Talk to my wife about what's going on. But my day-to-day and thoughts and struggles and fucking today was horrible because of this and all that. I share stuff with Sandy. It was a rough day today with some clients. I wanted to fucking crawl through the phone and choke them and punch the shit out of them and tell them to go find work, find the work somewhere else.
Right.
Fill her in on what's going on. But, it's not the emotional vomit, if you will, of every thought that crosses through our mind and struggle that crosses through our mind.
I mean, but I think there's a big difference between, like, venting and then, like, looking to work something out. I mean, like, I'm really stressed about this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay... let's just talk, finances, right? I mean, like, this business didn't make much money or whatever.
I mean, like, Derek doesn't know anything about
I don't know anything about what's old.
So, I've had the big moments, big decisions, things that, are solely really, really impacting me, but what's impacting me does impact, her and the family. I was done sitting behind a desk, dealing with other people and worrying about their money every single day, and I was like, fuck this. I need to get the fuck out of here. I can't stand this anymore. I'm going to snap. Something's going to happen. Ooh. I need to be done. So I was like, I need to quit my job. I need to do something. So let's talk about finances. What can we do? What can't we do? Because I need like a hard fucking stop date. So we talk about these big things like that. To me, that was a big friggin' thing. Might not be such a huge thing. That's a big
decision that
deal.
affects the whole family.
So that was something broad we talked about. But I think we're taught to going back to the primitive fundamentals to protect, and part of that protection is not to put more shit on and I'm not going to burn you with my shit because I know you got your own shit. I know you're holding the house down. We're running businesses. You got all this other shit going on. And by the way, I feel sad today. Who gives a fuck? I'll be all right. Yeah. That's our mindset. That's my mindset. Who gives a fuck? It's a day. Yeah. I'll be okay.
That's my mindset.
I'll be happy tomorrow.
Yep.
Totally. I might be in a bad mood today. I might have woke up sad for whatever reason, but it'll be okay.
Exactly.
So that kind of ties into my next question, which is like, how do you decide what to share and with whom? You know what I mean? So, like, obviously, friends and spouses are two completely different bags of worms. I mean, maybe some of y'all might be.
Keep on drinking, buddy.
But, like, how do you decide, like, what to share and with whom?
This group of guys, we kind of talk just about whatever. And I've got some buddies that I've grown up with, since I was 13 years old.
But you have friends outside of this group?
How dare you?
That's fine.
You've seen the pictures.
Yeah. But people that I got, like go-to people that in a crunch, and these guys are those go-to people. In a crunch, anything I needed to talk about, any problem I had, if I was fucking on the side of the road, just accidentally murdering somebody, I copy these guys.
We need to edit that.
If it's changing a tire,
don't call me.
If it's changing a tire, I'm not man enough.
Wait, let's get the alibi.
I will say the floor that we're standing on, I installed it. So under Jason's definition, I am a man.
Yeah,
100%. But what I'm getting at is guys you go to for whatever. We talk about the stupidest shit. But we also talk about serious stuff. And whether it's just casually talking about, big issues, it's just casually talk about it. So I think having that, as guys, having that outlet where you bust each other's balls, but yet you could talk about whatever you want and still bust each other's balls about their style while we're talking about the serious stuff is how us guys roll and how we deal with it.
Big
so
facts.
having that outlet, if you will, with close people, I think helps in the relationship aspect of sharing with your spouse, with the big stuff. You share the big stuff with them,
Right, so you agree with that? You agree with that? I have my core group of friends that I can, I just, I kind of dump on you guys just to vent, and toss ideas around, and then like with the wife or with the partner, spouse, whatever, like we talk about the big things that affect us as a
or even to help
unit,
you
yeah.
kind of tee up to get your shit together to talk about
Yeah.
what's bothering
Mhm.
you with
Yeah.
your spouse, or like, fuck, you know, I got
Right.
this going on. I
Hype
don't
me
know
up,
what
guys.
to do, bro.
I'm going in for war.
I gotta break this to the woman. What do I?
Yeah,
How do
yeah,
I do
yeah,
it?
you know, I got this going on, you know.
Derek has that conversation every week.
So yes.
Kevin, would you
Usually
agree
my
with that?
biggest conversations and things that are, you know, need to talk about, it's like
The
getting
kids.
ready to travel for the next race or something like that.
How do I break that to Kathy?
Right.
Those are the biggest stresses.
This is happening.
Struggle.
How do I tell
Gray
you?
hairs because of that.
Kev?
Well, you probably have figured out I really don't have a system. Yeah, you know, just if I feel like talking about it, I'm gonna talk about it. If I don't feel like talking about
Ooh,
it,
I meant to send that to the group text. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, I do have a lot more
Unsent
talking.
message.
I have a lot more talk with Wendy along those lines. The things that you guys avoid talking about, because I'm in a different situation, right? I mean, you guys are well aware of what I've dealt with in my life. And so Wendy needs to be aware of some of that as well, because she sees the behaviors and she sees those things that she doesn't like, and she needs an understanding of what they are and how to deal with them. So those are the kind of conversations we need to have. And yes, it does put a lot of stress on her that I would rather not. But in the same vein, if I don't, she's going to get the wrong impression of what she's seeing. Right? And so she needs to understand that. And so we have those conversations quite a bit. I'm hearing you guys and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I need to change that. So, you know, but
He's on timeout quite often. He might be on one right now.
Well, don't worry. We still got about 2 weeks before this airs. So you got time to cushion the blow. You know what I mean? But so, like, are there things that you don't feel comfortable sharing objectively with Wendy? I mean, like, are there things that you're like, I know I need to talk about this, but like,
not really. I mean, we've been married almost 25 years now. So, I mean, there's really nothing I can't share with her, and hopefully nothing she can't share with me at this point.
D?
Yeah, man, I feel like I can share everything with Kathy. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
right
that's my ride or die. We have a lot of similarities. We come from different work worlds.
Yeah.
And we talk
she
to each other
works.
about. Yeah, she works. Works hard. No, she works. Baby, you work. And, like she don't want to hear what I go through every day at work. She knows. Like, I'll tell her my my stresses and stuff. But I think these guys get a lot of my motherfucking exactly. Can you believe A, B, C, and D? She doesn't need to hear that because, like you said, man, she's holding down the fort, especially like right now, man. She's got 3 kids that she's homeschooling basically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And they're
she's
emotional.
working, and she's
so
working
emotional.
from home. Which she's she's working from home, so it's like I'm not trying to bring her like, hey babe, this guy called me a cracker at work today. Like she doesn't want to hear that. You know what I mean? Like there's no point.
Right.
So that's the stuff I tell
we
these
just
guys,
laugh at
and they just laugh at me like, yeah, you are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
start sending you pictures of Cracker Jack boxes.
right. I feel like I could tell her anything, man. She's helped me out through things, and we'll laugh at each other, and I think it's the same way, I mean, I deal with stress a different way. I deal stress with comical. I laugh through it.
right,
You know what I mean? I need this to deal with stress. You know what I mean? Yeah. I need this to deal. That's how I deal with my stress. It's have to be around people. I have to talk. I have to, because if not, if you keep it, I gotta cut it up.
Make
Yeah.
fun of the situation,
Oh, no
light
doubt.
of it.
Yeah. That's how.
I do realize this is airing, so I just want to say, Brent, I love you. and I'm saying I can tell you anything. I'm just choosing not to burden you with the stupid shit.
He's protecting you.
That's
He's
it.
protecting you.
Just trying to clarify this,
Let me go ahead and timestamp what I'm going to edit out. We're not gonna air that. She's gonna hear all the negative stuff. Right. Now, so I'm glad that you guys have all spoken candidly up until this moment. I mean, that's good that you guys are all open. I mean, we need that amongst brothers. You know what I mean? Do you ever feel like you're not supported? Do you ever feel like there's a moment in your life where you're like, I wish I was getting this at home with this particular situation that I'm dealing with? I know that's tough, and I know you all have spouses that are gonna see this. I know you all fuck. What a bathroom man.
I don't think I have that. I may have to do some convincing to get supported in certain things, but the support's always gonna be there. You know what I mean? She may not agree at first, but why you gotta go New York run another marathon? If in that type of sense that we're talking about support. But then later on, she'd be like, yo, baby, you got to run that marathon. You know what I mean? Like, this is your hometown. Let's do it, you know? Because it's when I make a decision, and we're part of the same thing, it's not just my decision, man. If my decision going away for the weekend affects everybody in the house. You know
When
what I
she
mean?
makes a decision that you're going away
Excuse
for
me,
the
when she allows me.
When she allows me to make the decision
So,
to go.
you know, right.
See, like I wear the pants in the house, but she
takes
buys
them
them
off.
Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's
There goes my
important
phone.
to note for the listen. I mean, I'm sure everybody who's listening probably knows this, but we're all married to pretty strong
Right.
Yeah.
alpha type women. Like, you know, listen, there's nothing wrong with a woman that kind of just takes a back seat. I mean, some of us probably wish sometimes they did, right? But I think that overall, all of us are married to very opinionated, extremely strong women.
Facts.
And they're not gonna hide their opinions, their feelings. So so I think Derek is right on the spot.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Well, the clock is right twice a day.
Even if it's broken, right?
The original question was about support, right?
Yeah, like are there times where you don't feel supported? I mean, not necessarily like with specific decisions, or are you just like, man, like I'm getting a lot more pushback than there's needed, or I'm getting questioned on shit that I don't feel like I should be questioned on.
I think any relationship, if we're just hitting specifically on that, goes through those moments of whatever. Maybe you want to do something or have something or change something that for you might be important, and your spouse sees it as, well, that's stupid, or that doesn't make sense, or why the fuck would you want to do that? Which is okay. Differences of opinion. You don't want, it's just like you don't ever want like just a yes man all the time.
Right.
But I completely feel supported with Sandy. Every major decision we ever made, big decisions we made together, or something that I've wanted to do, like quit corporate America, if you will, and really focus on this and just do consulting and throw it to the wind and see what happens.
Right.
100%. She actually pushed me towards it more so than I like wanted to do. It's fucking scary, man.
Right.
But she's like, do it. You have all these contacts. You do this. You could do it. Do it. So she's always pushed me to do more, be more. So 100% feel supported. Maybe little items here and there. But they're not big significant things. So.
What would you say is like the biggest mental health struggle you've been through?
Me?
Yeah, and I know that this can get hairy. Like we're getting to the point where I eventually answer all these same questions. But, you know what I mean?
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I can't really reflect that.
You've had a week, Jason. I sent you these questions.
I'm prepared. I've been studying for this one. I'm gonna get it wrong. I know I am.
In all honesty, I mean, I have put a lot of thought into it, and I really, I don't feel that I've really struggled in that manner or had a major struggle in that aspect. I mean, with day-to-day thoughts and feelings, maybe, but there's never been an overwhelming peak, if you will, that I've had like a big struggle. Maybe that's because I internalize those things and don't let them out to, evolve to whatever they're going to be. I don't know. But yeah, I really can't think of it.
And also maybe he handles himself in a way where he never lets it get to that point, right? There's something to be said about that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I try. I can't think of an ever where there's been like a peak of a huge mental struggle.
That's
that
big.
I either thought of,
Yeah,
fuck,
I've got a
I
few.
have to sit down and talk to somebody.
What
or,
about
fuck,
when you
I
lost
need to-
Pines? What did you go through? I never really asked you that.
just feelings of fuck and damn, failure, and I can't believe this, and we tried so hard, and huge financial burden. Still fucking trying to recover from it. So yeah, that to change the course of what we were doing, but deal with it and shift and do it. I mean, I go by that fucking GSD philosophy. Just get shit done.
Yes.
Whatever it is,
Amen.
fucking get it done. You hit this roadblock, I'm gonna go around it, through it, or figure out a way to go under it to continue to go to the end goal. So yeah, we took a step back, big time, a huge step back. But I guarantee you, there's gonna be lots of steps forward, just because of the way we handled it and the courses that we dealt with.
Amen.
It's gonna take longer than we wanted now, but so I can't really. And I did think about this and put thought into it, and I couldn't pinpoint to say, fuck, that one time when I was 22 and this happened.
Right.
Couldn't find an event or an episode.
So nothing. I mean, that's to be applauded if you ask me, because I know I've had my fair share of mental health struggles. But let's see, you were so prepared. Let's go ahead and put Larry in the game.
I've had, with my children. Probably not necessarily when Dylan, my eldest, was diagnosed, but when at some point I came to the conclusion I realized that he wasn't going to ever be able to fully communicate his feelings, get married, have children, leave the house, right? He's 19, he'll be with me forever. So when at some point, it was before I met these guys, I was living in Plantation, it hit hard. I mean, I was 20 pounds heavier than I am now, which I know it's hard to believe, but it happened, and I was a mess. I was an absolute. But the problem there is that so was my wife.
Right.
We kind of hit the wall together.
Right.
And so even though that kind of
strong person that held the other up.
Yeah. So, much more as a mother, obviously, much more emotional, much more. But to her credit, she's always been the. When my little had his 5th or 6th seizure, I'm on the floor holding him, making sure that he doesn't hurt himself, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, we got problems here. And she literally looked at me and go, no, we don't. And I'll always remember that. For somebody who I always assumed was, and she is, my wife is super emotional and this and the other, the fact that she kind of looked at me and just said, no, we don't. Because we've overcome so much with his brother, right? So that for me was a mess. When I realized no matter what I do with my oldest son, nothing I can do as a father, I'm going to succeed. And then over time you realize he's happy in his own world, and you can now you shift focus into making sure that he's taken care of for life, and what happens when you're dead and all that kind of crap, right? But at that moment, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. And I think he was like 9 or 10 years old.
Right. I mean, I can imagine like as a father, like finding out you're having a son, there's so much I'm gonna be able to do with my son.
Kids never throw the football.
And then to have that kind of pulled out from underneath you, like that has to be tough. So I mean, I applaud your strength on that, man. Like
my wife is stronger than me in that's for sure. Yeah. She worries a lot in a different way as a mom, but she's in the everything's gonna be okay mode kind of thing, and that's needed, right?
Yeah. And that kind of touches on what I was saying before about like having that, the person that you choose to spend the rest of your life with, like when you become one, like you have to rely on each other.
Sure. I mean, everybody's gonna go through their moments of whether it's verbalized or truly expressed, of moments of weakness, sadness, highs and lows, and you want to hope that other can sense that, at least if you're not verbalizing it. Like I can feed off Sandy and read her and know when she's having a bad day, some shit's going on, and try to be a little easier in that day, try a little bit be more extra helpful, and try to, ease the burden. But
Kev, what about you? What would you say is the biggest mental struggle you've overcome, and how you dealt with it?
Oh, brother, we ain't got that kind of time.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, we might. Everything's on charge right now.
No, for these guys know, but for the listeners, a lot of people don't know that I've suffered from major depression since I was 14. So I've been clinically depressed, been hospitalized several times, attempted suicide when I was young. So I know what it's like to have mental issues, and it's one of those things you just learn to deal with. So.
And speaking on learning to deal with it, because I fall into that same category. Been clinically diagnosed as having depression and whatnot, and attempted suicide as well. How did you learn to deal with it? I mean, because there's a lot to that.
Yeah, so a lot of it was the hospitalization. I spent a summer hospitalized in an institution with a lot of counseling, a lot of drugs.
How old were you?
Thank you.
Probably 17,
No, this
16.
I didn't know.
Yeah, me
Neither
neither.
did I know about the suicide, by the way.
I didn't know about either of those.
Yeah.
How
I mean,
old,
it's not
I'm
something I'm terribly proud of.
17.
What did I say, 16 you said?
No, I must have been a little younger than that, probably 14. Okay. Yeah, 14, 15 in that neighborhood. But I do know now what they don't know. The when you hear these commercials on and they say might cause suicidal thoughts and pre-adolescent. Well, they know that because of me, because those are the things they didn't know back then. Right. They gave you the medication. Oh, wow. They didn't know that it was actually making it worse at that point. And so I think that's really what happened to me to start with, is that I think the medication made it worse. And then as I got older, it actually started to help. And so, I'm on a fairly even keel at this point, But I have my highs and lows, and that's what I was alluding to when I say, there's some things I have to share with Wendy, and we have to have these discussions, because otherwise it just seems like I'm withdrawing and, I don't care about her. I don't want to do those things. Nothing could be further from the truth. Right. It's just I'm trying to survive at that point. And it's tough, but, you just muddle your way through.
And like, would you say that like and you don't have to go into specifics because I know that can be touching, but like, do you feel there's something specific triggering the depression or causing you to feel how you feel?
Some of mine is cyclical. So I noticed that I got a swing around October.
Seasonal affective disorder.
I've got that. So generally around April, it comes back out. So I know that during that period, I'm going to have a little bit of a harder time. As far as an actual trigger, not necessarily. I tend to respond pretty well in bad situations, surprisingly. But when it hits, it hits hard. Yeah. And that's, a lot of this pandemic and being at home and being by myself, and, it's been really rough for me. So I'm really happy that I'm back at work because things are starting to get back to normal. But
like, and do you rely on these clowns around here, like, to kind of help you pull you out of that?
So this is where it's kind of it's odd because I hear you guys saying that you kind of dump on your friends and not on your wife, and I kind of do that ass backwards because I generally I'll go to Wendy and work with her on some of the stuff rather than coming to you guys, and I think part of that is still that piece of you that you've grown up with is that you don't share those things. You got to keep that wall up, because I have had people's opinions of me change when I've opened up to them.
Let me tell you, man, you found the right group of guys because we may not, have what you have, but we got some shit going on in this group, bro. Sober and not sober.
Undiagnosed.
Yeah. I'll raise you on that.
I've always appreciated, the bits you have shared with us that we've already known. Yeah. A couple things I just found out tonight. Obviously, respect the fact that you're open and share that with us. I've always respected that, and I know that. Our opinion, you never changed.
I definitely.
Yeah, we're there always here.
We're probably gonna bust your chops even more now. Actually, that's.
That's gonna make me feel better, right?
Because that's just it. That's what we all do. But I just wanted, I appreciate that. So thank you.
Right on.
Absolutely.
D, you got some big shoes to fill. Because what was your biggest mental health struggle, and how did you?
I don't know, man. I'm in that same boat with Jay. I've thought about it. I mean, I've had some stuff at work. Big events that's happening, 9/11, different things that's happened, but I've never really carried it to a point where I couldn't handle it, or it was just kind of like just keep on trucking, like what I mean, like get over it. I just never really had anything like that I can think about that I could express. I honestly, I have no answer for you on that.
That's fair.
I always just fought through whatever the issues were at that moment, and like I deal with my shit by joking around and everything, and I just move on.
I do think that it's important to note that our generation, because we are, all pretty much same generation, is that it's okay to fail, right? Like they don't teach that to the kids today.
Oh yeah,
we fail.
There's participation trophies.
I have failed many times.
Can you fail in this day and age?
And so you don't have an emotional breakdown when you fail at something. You just do what Jason said. You just keep on trucking.
You're out and keep going.
And it's so hard to understand for the newer generations. And I know I'm generalizing. I understand that, but failure is okay. Yeah. It's just how you handle failure.
100%.
Yeah.
Is what defines you.
100%.
See, I think I'm a collective of all four of you. You mean, like, I think I've got bits and pieces of each one of your stories, to be quite honest. Like to speak on like the first part, like the archetype of manliness to me is my father, and I've seen him cry very little times. You mean, like, he's had a great relationship with my mother, and I've just seen him be a good fucking dude. You know what I mean? Like, there's zero complaints there. So I was never raised that boys don't cry, or you don't share emotions or anything like that from him, or really anyone specifically in my family. But it was all like societal shit. You know what I mean, like you get that you get that at school from your peers and shit.
Absolutely.
So like, which goes to show that it's not just your upbringing that contributes to your concept of what manliness is. It's society as well. So, my dad, is very much so a gentleman, holds the door for my mom, and my mom takes on the very typical womanly role, keeping the house clean. She works a full-time job as well. She keeps the house clean, she cooks, and she does all this stuff for him, but because she chooses to. It's not that my dad says, like, you have to do this, or, so it's not that. But, having my dad show me how to be a man and, like, tell me shit like, he's proud of me and shit like that means a lot to me, So even with all of that, I still was diagnosed with clinical depression, but I know that when I asked you, what was behind yours, I know for me, mine was my sexuality. So like I grew up in a world where like men are with women and everything else is just fucking weird.
How old are you?
I'll be 36 in July, so I'm not quite a millennial, but I'm not quite Generation X or Y, Z. Whatever.
You're 10 years too early.
I tell you, I don't know what letter of the alphabet I am. Generation X, Y, Z.
You're 10 years too early. Your
Yeah.
life would have been completely different if you had been born 10 years later, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely
95,
would have,
I was born in 85, so like I got the best part of the 90s. But like so I knew growing up that my sexuality was different than everybody else's. And I so it's weird to see like you're supposed to want the princess. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but like, what about the prince though? Like, why is nobody talking about the prince? You know what I mean? So like that was a big mental health struggle for me, and I knew I got to keep this shit a secret, or at least that's how I felt growing up. Like you can't tell anybody because you're gonna get picked on. And again, it's like the weaknesses. Like you can't speak to your weaknesses because people will use that shit against you. So what do? I make jokes. I become the center of attention by being a comedian and firing back. Having two older brothers, I'm the baby of the family, So I've learned to curtail my experiences for my own sake,
Were you able to share that with your brothers?
Absolutely, and they were very supportive. They were like, I don't give a fuck. Like we still gonna make gay jokes. Like you just gotta deal with it. So I'm like,
it's just gonna be even worse now.
Fine, I'll just make heterosexual jokes. How about that?
Yeah, right. They're like, so now you're not gonna hit on my girlfriend? Fine, perfect. Like I can deal with that. So like, it got to a point for me where it was just unbearable. I felt like I couldn't go forward. I couldn't be my authentic self. So I constantly felt like I was putting on a mask every single day. So while I enjoyed being the clown of the group and going and laughing and joking with everybody, when I'd go home, I'd feel like absolutely shit. I'd feel fucking drained. And it became too much, and I did try to off myself. Thankfully, that shit didn't work out, and I'm still here. But I realized later on in life when I was teaching that this shit is very real. And because we don't talk about men's mental health enough, like people don't feel that they have resources. You know what I mean? So like, while mostly everybody here had it like pretty easy, didn't really have a whole lot of shit going on to really affect their mental health, it's not the same case for everybody.
I know.
So when I was teaching, I had a student by the name of Blake who ended up committing suicide. I won't speculate as to the reasons why he committed suicide. There's a number of different reasons. I don't know for sure. But at the end of the day, he committed suicide. And I remember going to his funeral and hearing his father come up there and say, like, I'll never be able to go fishing with my baby boy again. Like, that shit had me in fucking tears. And because it made me feel like, damn, I came this close to putting my father through that. Like, I came this close to making my dad have to say the same shit about his baby boy. And it broke me apart because, like, I didn't grow up feeling like I had to be a certain type of human being from him. But because of how I let society affect me, I still was about to put him through that. So I wanted to touch on now, like, because everyone here has children. Everyone here has boys, if I'm not mistaken. Or do you have
Yep, I got a boy and a girl.
Everyone here, all right. So everyone here has children. And I'm glad you talked about breaking the cycle, kind of. Even though like your cycle wasn't fucked up above you, but you're trying to make it better for your kids. Because I would hate any of you to have to feel like Blake's dad did. You know what I mean? So with that being said, what do you guys feel is the best way to go forward to let, especially because we've made jokes about the next generation kind of being a little more soft or whatever, like just the typical jokes about the next generation. Everybody gets participation trophies and everyone's all, super sensitive or whatnot. What is the best way to share with the next generation of men how to get help? Let's start with you, Derek. No pressure.
No pressure. I think keeping that open line of communication, letting them see your emotional side and that you're willing to open up so they learn from you. That make any sense? Because Gavin's 4, so he's all about observing everything now. He imitates everything. It's funny because I was just having that conversation with Kathy where, you know, he says certain things to her and I'm like, where do you think he get that from?
Yeah.
Because he's watching me.
Yeah.
You know, he'll say things to her that I would say to her, you know? And I think that's how you do it. You just let them know that they feel safe, that they can communicate with you, tell you whatever it is. They don't have to hide in the corner and do the little bad thing and keep that honesty in them with you, and they'll be honest with you growing up. That's what I think. I mean,
I agree, because I feel like baby boys not only learn how to treat the women based off how they see their father interacting with their mother, but also baby girls see what kind of men or what kind of behavior they should tolerate.
So that's always been like, I got 2 girls, right? And you got a daughter, and you too. They're gonna look, your girls are gonna see how daddy treats mommy, and they're gonna want that type of respect and that type of love from the person when they're old enough. That's
40,
what, yeah.
50, right?
If I'm sitting there and I'm smacking Kathy around her, that's all they know. They're gonna be looking for that. You know what I mean? That's how we met, right? So yeah, I think how I treat my family, how I treat my mom or my wife and everything, the kids will mimic that. They'll fall into that path, you know. And I'm hoping keeping that open communication with them, we'll get to know more about them than maybe our family didn't know about us growing up. You know.
Right. I mean, I would definitely agree with that, because at the end of the day, like, mental health in and of itself, all the struggles that we feel tend to stem from a breakdown in communication, whether it's like refusing to speak on a certain subject, not speaking on it completely, honestly, or vulnerably, right, and internalizing it, or choosing to communicate it a little too much, you mean, or in a negative way, you know what I mean? Kev, what would you say is the best way to pass this information on to the next generation?
I definitely think that, like, mentorship programs for kids that are at risk is probably a good thing, to be able to share the experiences I've had and the things that have worked for me, the things that haven't. You know, but frankly, I think one of the things that we really need to look at in this country is how we actually evaluate and treat mental health. I think that you can't look at the number of mass shootings and things that are going on and not wonder what the hell is going on. And, you know, you've got one segment of the population that seems to think that it's the guns. Well, you know, I don't know about you, but my guns haven't shot anybody. The problem is what's causing that kid to feel like they need to go out and take somebody else's life. You know, what is it about how they were raised? What is it about what was not available to those kids that needs to be available? Because that's where the focus needs to be. You know, that's where the legislation needs to come in. We need to start thinking about, how do we break that cycle?
Yeah.
What is this cycle? Because it's getting dangerous. Yeah. I mean, it's getting out of hand. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember, you know, I'm sure there've been things like this with us growing up. I mean, there was the tower shooting in the 60s. There's but not to the level that we see it now.
How prevalent it is now. I mean, I would definitely agree with that.
Problem is, it's just the topic at that moment, and then it just kind of gets forgotten.
It gets swept.
If you're going to talk about it, you got to be about it. If you're going to do something, then do it. And don't just talk about it certain times of the year, you know, and then forget about it until the next big incident happens. Right. And that's a big problem.
That's just it.
They don't.
I mean, because I know it's easy to point at the next generation and be like, oh, you're all fucking snowflakes, you're all sensitive, whatever the case may be. But like,
they are.
That even if you
that
feel
just
that
means
way,
they need more help.
I'll back it up, and these are the original thing. What makes a man, and that's man is to you know, mold and help guide the next generation.
Right.
Because that's what the
and that's,
men in our lives when we were children did.
Larry talked about that. You know, it's like it's not just being a provider for my direct family. It's about being a provider to my community as well. Yeah, you know, so instead of, I don't want to say instead of, but like, you know, it's just pointing out that this generation is sensitive. Yes, I can see why that's being said, but like, grab someone from that generation and help them. You can't, soon. You can't rely on just pointing out the differences between this generation and this generation. You mean, like, obviously times are different, just like, you know, your fathers and grandfathers before you were like, what the fuck are you got this all backwards. But it's gonna take time. But I want to get your point of view on this.
It's you're not gonna like my point of view.
I mean, probably not, but I've liked everything so far.
There's no answer. There's no answer.
Yeah.
The system is so far screwed up. You got parents who have no business being parents.
Agreed.
Right?
That's it.
But I used to think that it was a complete parental failure, but you're an example as to why it was not. You talked about your father, your mother having a lovely relationship, being kind to you and so forth, and somehow, some way you didn't feel
Society.
Society, yeah.
your brothers were right. And the answer for me is social media. It destroyed everything.
100%.
Oh,
It
yeah, no
destroyed
question.
100%.
everything. It's so easy to stand behind a computer and bully somebody now.
100%.
And so I don't know that there's an answer. You didn't feel comfortable enough going to your brothers. You didn't feel comfortable enough going to your parents and saying, I am at a point where I want to end my life. And if you didn't feel comfortable going, through, then what's the answer? I mean, but society is so cruel. I mean, they're like, I mean, I've gone to birthday parties with my son in an environment where these people are in the party, in the pool party or whatever. They've known me since college, and their kids are making fun of my son.
Wow.
Okay, think about that for a second. This is
Yeah.
like Jason's son who hasn't been taught better, right? Making fun of
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Can you yeah, Jason would beat the crap out of it. But I'm just saying, like, that's society. Now, of course, I have an advantage. My kids, you can't bully them. They have no idea what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Unless you physically harm them. So in a way, it's an advantage. But I just don't know that there's an answer anymore.
Yeah.
Social media is just too strong.
I mean, I think I agree, but this doesn't have to be a widespread. Let's fix everybody. This has to be a
fix your own.
I'm committed to making sure my kids and whoever the fuck they hang out with
Starts
are,
at home, man.
Right.
Starts at home.
yeah.
And if
Starts
everyone
at
would
home.
just take care of their own, everything would be okay. Now, granted, there's always going to be
Or
some
hold people
outliers.
responsible for the nonsense that they do,
Exactly.
No,
regardless of what age.
So, my answer to the question is
Yeah.
to take my boys and show my boys it's okay to, hug your dad. It's okay to sit on my lap. It's okay to say I love you. It's okay to show that emotion. It's okay to be upset and sad and cry.
Right.
Let that out. Let's talk why. Why are you feeling that way? Tell me why. Let's talk about it. Let's fix it. Let's see what we can do. Maybe we can't fix it, but let's talk about it. So let them know it's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to express those feelings. It's okay to show somebody you love them.
Is that
Yeah.
something you say you got? Like, were you shown those things, or
So my dad. I remember my dad. I'd sit on the couch with my dad, lay next to my dad. My dad was a great father, great man. Still, I mean, him and my mom been together. What am I for? 49 years. High school sweethearts, been together forever.
Wow.
Great guy. My dad's great provider and maybe the dude I am today for the most part. But I don't remember, whether it's my conscious memory or chosen or whatever, a lot of that lovey-dovey with my father. And again, I do think that takes it back. My dad, we're talking early 70s here. So it's okay. We had our moments later on in life, as he matured and I matured, because we were close in age. We're only 19 years apart from each other. So we had other moments where, emotions were shared, and whether regrets of childhood raising or things of that nature were talked about and stuff. So I've taken a lot of how I raised my boys is how my father raised me. Very structured, very strict, doing this because this is what you need to do because of what I said you're going to do. You have chores, you got a schedule, but also I want them to have that emotional side too. I want them to know it's okay. And my boys are very respectful. They're very well behaved for the most part. They're boys,
that
but
look
yeah, they're
Jason
boys.
gives
They still do boy stuff, but I want them to. You fucked up. It's okay. We're gonna talk about it.
Right.
But man up. Just admit what you did.
Yeah. Right. Own it.
Let's admit the failure. Let's admit the mistake. We'll make the best we can. But to just accept who you are,
Right.
love who you are, and love the people that you're with, and just be open. And that's to me. If I can make my boys better, maybe that will ripple out to some of their friends. Will ripple out to other friends, and when they get older, their kids, and then it hopefully just grows and changes shit.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Because I can only focus on my own. Or
Kevin
people that have
said-
direct impact.
I feel like what Kevin said is super
Contact with.
important. Is having people like us. I can consider everybody at this table being somebody who can actually influence someone in a positive manner. And I feel like what Kevin said is extremely important. Is to try and involve yourself in your community more and more, because maybe you don't feel comfortable going to your friend or your father or whatever, but if there's that guy, whether he's the baseball coach or whatever, and you're able to maybe
It's a good point.
confining that person then, and there's less and less of that, right? Because everybody's busy and
distractions galore,
and liability, and people feel uncomfortable having a conversation. Imagine a baseball coach having a conversation with a 10-year-old, and that 10-year-old goes home, oh, the coach helped me with this, and the father's like, whoa, I'm sorry, what?
That's
just
the problem.
Everything's messed up in that way, so it's hard, but I think it's
everybody used to lend a helping hand back then, and you can't do that now. You can't,
because it takes a village to raise an idiot.
There you go, baby. Full circle. Seriously, like that one, right? Trademark. But no, seriously, like everybody, the neighborhood, the lady out the window would tell your mom or your grandma that you were too far down the block and you shouldn't have been there, and you're gonna get it because that lady told. But everybody now is mind their business.
Right. The kids aren't outside
because what? Because the generation
kids are out there getting shot at the end of the night.
I don't know nothing about it.
Are gonna go back and say, well, why you watching my son for? Nobody told you to watch my son for. It's like to my kid or whatever, and people start saying, you know what?
Mind my own business.
Mind my own business then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs,
bro. The world's changing, man.
We're just in a
it's changing. Yeah, we just messed up.
So I think that the good thing is that one thing that we all have in common outside of our undying love for Jason is coming to this gym. You mean? So like we get a chance to forget about what stresses us out.
Oh, no doubt.
And come here and fucking sweat it out. So let's go ahead and cheers to that. Cheers to having each other. You know what I mean? Like
I mean the boys, man. You gotta have the boys, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we do have some young. I didn't drink a lot.
All right, let's
more and more
refill.
We do have some. Should hit the mic. Some teenage boys here and some younger, girls that come here, teenage girls and stuff. So, my interaction with them is I think important. Trying to, they're here for a reason.
Right.
We've had some very, very shy young men come here, and to see those change and open up and start, interacting and joking and stuff is huge for me. It's a huge positive impact on them. If they can come here and feel confident and they're, feeling more good about themselves, that's gonna, translate into their daily life.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's just a proven fact that fucking exercising clears your mental space.
Sure.
I mean, like,
it helps, no question about it.
Even if it's only temporary, like, even a temporary fix is a fix nonetheless. You know what I mean? So.
But it's not just a gym, right? So like, yeah, I understand the impact, right? Like, so a young kid comes and takes class, and I can imagine like, you're in the headlights, right? Like, looking at Jason coach, it's like, this guy is like, so
right.
No, but that's a positive, right? Look how confident he is, right? But also, this gym, people come with their children, and you see the interaction, right? I love when Jason's kids come. I love when Derek brings his kids, because it shows you, like Derek used to bring. Gavin was.
The stroller.
Gavin was in a car seat, and funny. Today we had
on the corner. He would sleep with the music blasting, and like what other gym would allow you to bring a newborn into?
That's what this is. That's what it's about. Yeah. So I mean, that's the aspect, and again, kind of full circle again. As men, we're taught family is important. Family is everything.
Right.
At least in the Latin, Italian communities, that's a big deal. Family.
Right.
So that's what we instill here. Family, and everybody's welcome.
Yeah, I mean, you got husbands and wives working out together every day, and cousins and.
Freaking, we got a family of 4 that comes here together
family of
all
4
the time.
that come here.
It's great. Everybody's
I mean, you're not getting that. I'm sorry, but I can't think of another place really that'll give you something like that.
Nah.
Like it just
Chuck E. Cheese.
maybe. It's just it's dope, man. It's really cool that you have a common place everybody can come to. And then we're cool with all those other people, and we get together after the gym, and we go out to breakfast, and we have parties. Like it's a big,
Well, that's what I told Sandy when years ago when we first started joining. This really isn't just a gym; it's a community of people that all care about each other.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, and we, I guess subtly we're all kind of helping each other out with our mental health, if you will.
That's true.
We deal with stuff. I mean, I hear stuff about all the clients. They share stuff with me, which is great.
That rash went away, by the way. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. That's good, man. Yeah.
I'm happy.
I think he got it now.
That's what's up with his eye. Damn.
That's why he
But
was
yeah,
sweating.
so you know, that's what's.
The thing about this gym, I'll say, is that you get whatever you want out of it, right? If you're the guy that wants to come work out and leave, it's okay. You don't have to take part of the extracurricular, you know, like the races and this and the other. But if you want to get in, they welcome everybody. Right? Like
Our goal is to impact lives positively, not just physically. When you come in here and look at me, I've lost 20 pounds. I can see my abs now. It's build that
still
mental.
hasn't happened.
It is to help with that mental aspect.
Facts.
I mean, we at sometimes are shoulder to lean on, and a ear just all right. What's up? I know people's relationship statuses, this, that, whatever else is going on. It's almost like being a bartender and you have that person sitting there and drinking them back and telling
I'm
you
gonna
all
pour
the
you another
stories.
drink,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you gotta
I'm
up
gonna
that
pour you
tip
another
next time,
15
bro.
burpees.
like
and
one of
go
my
and tell me all you want.
one of my favorites was that Vista View party. I don't know how old you turned. Remember, like a few years
Yeah, I
back?
think that. Yeah,
Oh, is that
was
when you
pretty
got
cool.
the-
Yeah, do those burpees and all that. I think
Yeah.
that was 45
One-legged
I think.
burpee.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all the kids were there.
Yeah, that was great.
That
was great.
There's no other gym. I mean, that I know
That
of.
might be coming. That might be happening.
Soon.
God, that'd be nice. Yeah.
We're at 80 minutes, so we gotta wrap this shit up. I love y'all. Like, I wish you all the best of mental health, but like, holla at me later, y'all. Peace out, y'all. Until next time.